Thank you guys for leading us today. Listen, I'm going to invite the team that went to Selma, Alabama on our mission trip this last week. It was the first mission trip for 122. And what we'd like to do is we would like to share with you a bit, briefly. You're going to see some pictures scrolling in the back. This is not a professional slideshow, but it will give you some flavor of kind of what some of the things that are happening. As you see some of the pictures and you hear the stories, you'll be able to tell just kind of a little bit of what happened. We have a couple members that are not here. Monique Minton, which is Whitney's mom. She was our food team. And first before this, you can clap for her. She was wonderful. And Whitney's husband, Trevor, is not here at home working on something there. But first I want to say this. This trip wouldn't have happened without the church participating. So we had, I started getting texts every day that I was gone from Bill, who was praying for me. Because the prayer team assigned each person that went to somebody else to pray for. That's how you do mission, right? You go and do, and you support through prayer, and you do the work. Thank you. I want to say thank you to those who prayed for us. It sustained us and got us through. I'd like to say thank you. If you cooked something for us, just raise your hand. Go ahead. There's more than that, but thank you very much. Listen, I hope that I burned more than I ate. It's in question. Thank you very much for doing that. And then as a church at large, to be a generous church, we were able to be very generous on this mission to the city of Selma and the people there. And we were able to say yes because of a church's generosity. So thank you for being outwardly minded. This is what we are going to be about. And I just want to say thanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass it down. I'm going to start with Whitney, and we're going to go. Some may share, some may not. And we're going to just briefly give you an overview of the things that God did there. If you have questions, ask me later. We're not going to do question and answer right now, but would love for you to hear just how God worked.
All right. Morning, church. I was praying over what to share, and I felt this sense for me personally, worlds colliding. And my mom, who's not here because she served her heart out and is sick at home right now, was on this trip with me, which is not something I ever, even a couple of years, even last year, could have imagined that my mom would be serving alongside me. If you're wondering why Selma, worlds colliding, Trevor reconnected with a high school friend early on in our marriage. Just truly, God put William O'Neill on Trevor's heart, and someone else in our church said, if he's on your heart, reach out to him. And he did, to find that William had found the Lord, which he was not walking with the Lord in high school, and he had given his life to Christ, and him and his now wife, who was his high school girlfriend, who Trevor also knew, were now sent out to be missionaries, which what they thought was going to be India was actually Selma, Alabama, 3 hours from where Trevor and the O'Neills grew up. And we found out what God had done in their lives, and we began to learn about Selma. And God sparked a friendship, worlds colliding from all the way back in high school between our two families. And we have gone to Selma. This is our 7th trip to Selma. And our family and the O'Neill family have established a relationship where their kids are homeschooled and grow up in a very different world than we grow up in here. And just to see what God has done in their friendship, they all stair-step each other. You'll see pictures of all the kids throughout the trip. They all stair-step each other, the O'Neill kids and my kids. And to just watch just the joy and the beauty of their friendship and what God has done in our friendship with the O'Neills has been amazing. And then the story just continued, worlds colliding with our church, getting to go and experience Selma in the way that we have over the last 5 or 6 years. And what has taken us 5 or 6 years to experience in learning about history, learning about a new culture, learning about people. God did that for this team. I was so blown away at the hearts and the surrendered posture of this church body at home and at the trip, for them to get to experience and serve a group of people they didn't know. And then worlds colliding all the way to the people that we met, like Mr. George, an 80-year-old man we met on a prayer walk who just walks and looks at the brokenness of his city and has hope. And worlds colliding to a third grade girl we met in the schools named Kendall, who thought we were the coolest people and didn't want us to leave, would have hung out with us every second of her day if she could have. And I just thought it was a beautiful picture. And God said, it's not worlds colliding, it's my story. It's actually my story that I've known since the very beginning. And it's not just a mistake of some people that happen to stumble across each other. It is my people, my body, your church family. And I think that was what I would say my takeaway was.
Beautiful, Whitney. Good morning, church family. My name is Rolanda. I was one of the, stragglers to make this trip because I made it in by the hair of my chinny chin chin at the very last minute. But I love how God works, that his timing is perfect, right? Like, I didn't know I was going to be going, but he did all along. And not only did I get to go, but someone paved the way for me and paid my way to go as well. And so forever grateful for God and this experience with this amazing team. One of the things that I loved about Selma, Alabama is the culture of the people. For a town that has undergone so much oppression and hatred, everybody was so kind and welcoming and loving. And one of the things that stood out to me was Tamika at the coffee shop. She knew everyone's name that came in that were regulars. She called them by name. She asked if they were having their regular coffee for the day. And I saw the kindness in this city that could have did something different. For Mr. Kirk, who was a foot soldier that we met while we were in Selma. He was 11 years old at the time when Bloody Sunday happened. And if you don't know the story, primarily most of the people who were on the bridge that day were ages 11 to 17. So these were children. And Mr. Kirk was one of them. He was 11 years old during this time frame. And one of the things that Mr. Kirk taught us is that they had to learn nonviolent means for standing up for what was right. And I love that because a lot of times when we are offended, we want to lash out or state our case or, tell others how they hurt us. But these children learn how to live on purpose, like our church statement, and also love people right where they are. Something else that struck me about his testimony to us when he was showing us around Selma was that not only were people abusing them and treating them poorly, but they were holding their Bibles. Just let that sink in for a minute. They were holding their Bibles and throwing stones and tomatoes at these kids who were standing for what was right. And it struck me because God said, we can't just be hearers of the word, right? Just like our mission statement here, we must be doers of the word. And so, church family, it's not enough for us to just hold our Bibles and read them every day. We have to do what it says. And I learned in Selma that it is better to carry your cross and do what God says than to live comfortably. And my team knows I didn't sleep the whole week in Selma. So they had to bear with grouchy Row all week. But what was so sweet is like every day, my team members were still encouraging. I can hear Kayla, good job, bro, keep it up. Even though we were worn out. And I love that God just continually showed up and showed out for us. We got to love on people, but we also got love back. And that's what I took away from Selma, was that this is about love. It's about going the extra mile. Pastor Johnny, so proud of him. You should be proud of your pastor. Y'all, I've been on more than 15 mission trips, and I have never seen a senior pastor attend a mission trip. And not only did he show up, but he led well. And that's what this is about. It's about leading well as a man over your family. We learned that too this week. And also paving the way for others to be able to love and lead well as well. So thank you for sending us. Thank you for praying for us. And may God give us all the grace that we need to love others right where they are and to step into somebody else's space where they're hurting and need a good hand up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Shin. It's my husband, Nathan. He'll speak next. What God showed me in Selma was to take a break, to pause, to not be in a hurry to get to the next project, to get to the next conversation, and just be in the moment, whatever that moment looked like, which we were thrown tons of different moments. And it was amazing to see just how much this group came and showed up for the community in ways that we will not understand here on earth, but we will know that the impact is there. The ladies got to go to the church and elementary school there, and we got to serve some students. It's an elementary school that serves over 400 students, ages kindergarten to 6th grade. And on the second day, we were going around and seeing if we could help the teachers out in any way. And honestly, this was a God moment because I walked up to a teacher and said, hey, can I help you out at all with your students? And she said, well, I teach 6th grade. You're welcome to help. We're doing math right now. Little do you know, I love math. So I said, absolutely. And she said, oh, well, but we're doing division of fractions. Little do you know, I also remember my division of fractions, and I said, absolutely, I would love to help you out on that one. And so she walked into the class, she walked to the back of the class, she was like, here's the answers to the test that they did, can you help go over it? And we wrote the equation out on the board, and I would just talk with them and have them go up there and encourage them, give them confidence with their answers. And it was amazing to see that at first they were really shy, and they were like, who is this stranger in our classroom right now? And by the end of it, they were all eager, wanting to answer, wanting to go up to the board to write down their answers, coming up to me, Miss Kayla, is this the right answer? And just seeing that confidence bloom in them was such a big impact to me in a way that math does. And it was just great to see that God used the ability and he knew I loved math and could do math, to send me to this classroom to help the teacher take a break, but also so that I could encourage the students. So throughout this time, I just took breaks. I got to know all the people here, had great conversations, deep conversations about what people struggle with, but I couldn't have done that if my phone was in front of me. I couldn't have done that if I was so focused on going to the next project or next conversation or next thing. And I think that was the big impact for me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nate, as Kayla said. And my takeaway from this trip, actually from the second night, was Romans 8:28, where it says everything works together for good, for all things for his purpose. Looking into this trip, looking at what we had to do, it was a big project. And there's not a whole lot of guys here, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be a lot of work for just a few guys. Ronnie's a little bit older, so I knew he wouldn't be a whole lot of help. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, throughout this whole trip, everybody played a part. And it wasn't there wasn't nobody sitting around. And for those of you who've been on mission trips or outreach, even in their own city, people just kind of come just to check that box and be there for the photo op or whatever it is. Everybody here played a very crucial part. And throughout the days, you saw us all work together for a purpose, and that purpose was to impact Selma and impact the Seeds of Hope organization. That's, as Kayla said, we'll never see what that return is going to be. So that really excited me to see that. I do want to shout out a couple people, which I can sit here and shout out everybody. But as Rose said, Johnny was a baller. There are a lot of times people come on mission trips, leaders, and they're kind of hey, you do this, and they kind of sit in the back watching it happen. Johnny was on the roof in a non-safe way the entire time. Genuinely. It was not safe, and same with Andy, Karina. Andy was totally safe, don't worry about it. But seriously, those guys were up there the entire time, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, in the sun, burning, and getting this job done. So, and I can sit here going through everybody, but seriously, those two guys, you guys did amazing. So, that's what I got.
Good morning, church. My name's Kristen Richardson. David and I signed up to go to Selma, we thought we were building a pavilion. And the pavilion was built. Little did I know that Lindsay had other plans for the women, plans that I wasn't aware of and totally uncomfortable with, if I tell you the truth. And while we studied in the evening who our neighbor was in Luke 10, the Lord also put on my heart 2 Corinthians 4:18, and that is to focus not on what is seen, but what is unseen, for what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal. And so on Monday morning, I went out with the ladies on a prayer walk, and we walked through the city of Selma, Alabama. And these beautiful historic structures were crumbling. They once were gleaming in their day, but they were taken over by decay. But yet we ran into Mr. George, who'd spent 80 years of his life either in Selma, out of Selma, but returned. And the love for the Lord and people just shone through him. So fast forward, we're in the elementary school. We've been in the back of a book room for hours with no ventilation. And Whitney had already talked about this little girl, Kendall, who would have spent all day with us if she could. And I put her at about second or third grade, and we're inventorying books. And this little girl, her one question to me is the exact question I think that we have and that she's putting out as a challenge to this church. She looks up to me and says, "Miss Kristen, are you finished storaging?" Are we finished, church, storaging into what is temporary and what is seen in this world? And are we ready to storage to what is eternal?
Hello, I'm David, Kristen's husband. Anyhow, when we went into Selma, we really had no idea what we were walking into. And I don't have a whole lot to share, but I do want to share just a few thoughts that really kind of established the heart of Selma and helped us understand them as people. The city is truly scarred from the past. They suffered social abuse that was targeted at the black community. This goes back into the 60s. But when they were thriving with their own businesses and coming up in the world, the community turned against them, the state turned against them, put in laws that segregated, put in laws that were intentionally dehumanizing that community. Can you imagine not being able to walk in the front door of your own church? These are black churches. They still had to come in the back door or the side door. It was all designed just to keep them down. Additionally, Selma was about 30,000 in population. It was thriving. This downtown is gorgeous. You can tell the buildings were phenomenal. But they took the Air Force Base out of the community, once again, to intentionally reduce the economic ability of that community. So now it's down to about 16,000 people, predominantly a black community. That all said, Selma is full of loving people. They received us with open hands. They have hopes and dreams. They express joy. They know God. They're working to improve their community. They continue to face many challenges, but from within their community and with help from outside, they look and hope to build a better life for generations to come. I can tell you that they certainly left a mark on us, and we share in their hope And as a church, I just hope that we continue to keep them in our prayers in any way that we can continue to lift them up, that we do so.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Rock. This is my wife, Daphne. Probably one of the amazing things for me is to serve alongside of her. After 36 years of marriage, I've never had an opportunity to serve alongside of her. So that was amazing within itself. Probably the other amazing thing was witness kids. I mean, seriously, they was troopers, man. They was troopers. And trying to come up with a theme for the mission trip, for me, it was Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship, created to do his good work. And so that's the thing that stuck with me. And it was just amazing to see people do from the small stuff to the big stuff. I think Dave was the brain behind the whole thing. Johnny and Andy probably did most of the work as far as the building itself. But everybody surrounded that and did what was needed. I mean, because Joe just worked his heart out. We thought he was going to kill himself. But, I mean, he worked his heart out. He really did. But to see everybody work was amazing to me. And to see this building come together and we just stood back and looked at it, it was amazing. But one of the other things that I took away was the end of the day, when we just kind of debriefed, when we just talked about everything. And not only that, Johnny taught us in the Great Samaritan, the Good Samaritan. One of the things that stuck with me is that when you have three people that can do something and only one did it, I mean, that's, somebody have to reach your neighbor, whether it's next door, across the street, across the town, or either in Selma. It's a rich place. I mean, when you can feel it when you get there. And it was just amazing. So I thank God for it.
Good morning. I'm Daphne. And sorry, I took a few notes because I'm old and have to remember things. So March 7th marked 60 years since Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. We did get to hear a firsthand account from Mr. Kurt, like they mentioned, as far as the Jim Crow laws that were in effect in that time. And just like David said, just to hear firsthand of not being able to go in the front door of your own church. But not only that, every business, and even more so, which was shocking to me, I didn't know, they couldn't even go into the front door of their own homes. So in the black community, they even had to enter the back door of their own homes, which was just unbelievable to me. So learning that and what they, had to deal with, and to feel that, the oppression there is still, it's still there. I mean, they're working on it, but the healing process for Selma is going to take time because that pain is real and it's deep. But we met so many people that love the Lord and have hope for their community, from the teachers, administrators, the local coffee shop that Rolanda mentioned, Walmart employees, just everyone we came in contact. I felt a little bit of kind of hesitation and suspicion at first, like who are these people and why are they here? But then once we kind of talked to them, let them know that we were just there to serve and what we were doing to better the community, then just their hearts opened up and just really were thankful for what we were there to do. The Lord spoke to me in Galatians 5:13 and 14. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbors as yourself. So that's really what the Selma trip was to me. The community of Selma was shown love of God through our service to them, not in an attention-seeking manner or a way of trying to receive accolades, but by this team truly living out James 1:22, and us being the hands and feet of Jesus, getting in there, getting dirty and sweaty and doing the work, God's work. Working together as a team with the same purpose and using each of our individual gifts given by God, none more important than the other. 1 Peter 4, 10, 11 says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Thank you.
Morning, church. Sorry to stand in front of you guys. Andy Kenton here. So this was my first mission trip, so it was a great experience. Just want to thank everybody for the prayers and, of course, the food. It's not very often that you work that hard and you come back weighing more than when you left, so that was good. One quick story about the food is my beautiful wife here made some cookie dough balls. They're frozen. And I was only supposed to bring one bag, and there was 2 giant Ziploc bags. And luckily, I half listened to her and took both bags, because we tore up those cookie dough balls. And we never even bothered to cook them. We just ate them out of the freezer every night. So those came in clutch every day. But I just wanted to say, you can set out with the most pure intentions to serve others, and to fulfill what God has said about loving your neighbor. But at the end of the day, in my experience, God always shows that He is greater, and that you end up learning more from the others than they learn from you. So, fulfilling that commandment to love your neighbors is what really stuck out to me for this trip. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Joel the Chainsaw Sharon, as I've been affectionately called on this trip. As you can see by the pictures, there's really was an opportunity. Well, one, we were blessed with the weather. I mean, the sunsets and sunrises were amazing. It really gave us a chance to reflect on the day, both the physical and the spiritual. There was always a presence of hope in everything we did, from hearing the history of Selma from Mr. Kirk, the ladies going to church to interact with the children, feeding teachers, organizing rooms, to the construction site where a quote-unquote simple structure was built and will provide a place of community gatherings, camps to learn, and creating a place for hope for the future of Selma. We witnessed the power of hope in action. And as I shared with Ronnie, as he joined me in the last few days of clearing half an acre of trees and vines and brush and you name it, logs that fall. But what I noticed was the light began to shine through the trees. Whew. Which was once overgrown with trees or weeds and vines. Really reminded me that believers, that there's always hope. And John 8:12 says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in the darkness, but will have light of life.
You guys, I just want to thank you. It's an honor to serve this body, but it was such an honor to serve alongside friends that are like family, and for the opportunity to serve with my husband. Like, this is one of my favorite things to do. But while we were there, Jonathan took us through the Good Samaritan each night, just to kind of debrief. And I just want to read these couple of scriptures, and I'll tie it in. But it says, but a Samaritan on his journey came up to him, and when he saw the man, he had compassion. He went over to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on olive oil and wine. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, take care of him. When I come back, I'll reimburse you for whatever extra you spend. And it was just this idea as we were talking about this, so often, I think for all of us, serving and seeing others can sometimes be an inconvenience, right? Like we're so busy, we have our schedules, we have things that we have to get to. And the scripture stuck out to me the night that we talked about it, that this Good Samaritan, he didn't just stop and like attend to his immediate needs, like bandaging him, but he then took him, loaded him on his animal, took him to an inn, and he could have easily just dropped him off, but then said, here's some money. I'll be back in a couple days and I'll take care of whatever's extra. And I think for me, just that reminder, for the women, we got to spend a lot of time in this elementary school. And I think Daphne talked about it, Kristen talked about it. We were in a book closet for several hours, boxing up books, sealing them, writing down what was in them, and putting them to the side. And I think we had done it for maybe 2 to 3 hours, and we had everything pretty much done. And then the principal came and said, actually, I need you to write down every book and how many you have of that book. That's what we actually need for maintenance to be able to move it. And so it was a huge inconvenience. I'm sure for a lot of us, there were a few little grumbles of like, what in the world? This would have been nice to know. But that small inconvenience gave us an opportunity to hang out with little girls like Kendall and Aiden, who came and sat with us. They didn't just sit with us. They were like pushing these books. They were working with us. And an opportunity to just sit with them and hear their story and to hear just the heartbreak of what their everyday lives look like. You don't want to hear second graders talking about their dad being in prison or an 8-year-old little boy walking down the hall asking when he's going to be out of the system. Like, is there going to be a family that's going to adopt him? And so just that reminder from that scripture that we don't have to go to Selma. We have people here in our city. We don't even have to go to inner city. We have people right here in Cypress that are hurting, that need us to just go that extra mile with them. It's not just meeting, sometimes it's that immediate need, but going a little further and walking alongside them and really seeing their hurt and entering into that. Anyways, and I did get called a Karen at the school, which was, no, it was really sweet. It actually was really funny. The last day we got to provide lunch for the teachers, these teachers are amazing. We should thank all of our teachers. Like, we should appreciate them. But these teachers especially, like, they're not just trying to teach these kids, but they also are managing home lives. One of the teachers, was it Miss Page? Miss Page. She's a kindergarten teacher. I got to read. Also, Ryan got to come into the classroom. Ryan was amazing with those kiddos. We got to go in and read to the class, but she had a couple kiddos in the class that they would come in and take naps all morning until about 10:30 because they weren't going to bed until late at night. And so she's managing, and the what? And the train. There's a train that comes right through town that keeps them awake. Ro hates the train. But these teachers, I mean, they are pouring their lives into these kids and trying to teach them, but also like meet them where they're at and what's going on at home. And so we got to provide lunch for them on our last day in the school. And so that allowed us to be in the cafeteria with all of the kids sitting at the lunch table. And there was a group of some little boys that were being a little rambunctious. And so I think their punishment was they had to wipe off the tables. And they were messing around. And so I jokingly was like, I'm watching you. I see you. And the little boy says, what's your name? Is it Karen? And I said, it's not, but I guess it could be. But anyways, yeah, thank you. Thank you for your generosity and allowing us to go and serve the people of Selma.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the hard work you guys did. Thank you, church, for making space for them to go. You guys can go have a seat. I'm not going to preach a sermon now, just FYI. I am going to give you a short word while they go and sit down, and then we're going to sing together and have our time of giving and all those sorts of things. I found out on Sunday when we went to the church, at the end, the pastor said, and we look forward to Pastor Johnny coming to preach here soon. This is the first I'd heard of it. I was like, well, that means you're going to have to come to Houston then. So hopefully he and I will get a chance to kind of do a swap and be able to do that together. But I simply want to do this. The chapter that you can go and study at home from Mark, which was for today, is Mark 14, 53 to 63. And I just want to share something briefly because it ties into what we're talking about. Jesus was brought before Caiaphas, and Caiaphas, they were already determined to kill him, and they wanted to find people who could corroborate evidence so they could actually kill him legally. They did it at night, which was already an illegal jury to have this going on. And while he's standing there, Caiaphas asked him this question, right? They were like, oh, he's going to destroy the temple, build in 3 days a new one, which was a misconstruing of what Jesus actually said. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? And it says this, but he remained silent and made no answer. Jesus remained silent when he was accused of something that wasn't true. And I read this, I'm like, man, I'm terrible at this. In my immaturity, at my weakest moments, I get defensive and I try to justify myself and explain it away. It's one of my worst traits that bugs my wife, I'm sure. I wonder how many of us look to justify ourselves when somebody comes at us and is accusing us of things, true or not, because we're not confident in what is true. Jesus said nothing, waiting and praying. He didn't have to answer. He already knew what the answer was. He already knew it wasn't true. He was confident in who he was and what he was doing. And then it says, again, the high priest asked him, are you, emphatic, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed, which is another word for the Most High, another word for God. Are you? Jesus is standing here. Remember, he has been waiting for the time, waiting for the time, waiting for the time. And in John, we see it, and it's the same as in John, and he says this, I am. This is most likely the same. He is saying in this moment, I am the Son of God, not just that, I am. This is the same thing that God gave Moses, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. Jesus declares clearly the truth. He's not justifying himself. He's not skirting around it. He says, hey, it is what you think it is. I am the one you've been waiting for, essentially. And what's interesting to me is this, in 1 Peter chapter 2, Peter writes this. By the way, Peter is writing what we're about to say. Peter also gave his account to Mark, who wrote it down. This is what Peter says about it. For to this you've been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you might follow in his steps. Christ suffered to leave you an example so that you would follow in his steps. That doesn't mean that it's a suggestion. It means that this is the way that we should do life when we have suffering, when we deal with accusations from others. Gosh, and this is what Roe said when Mr. Kurt talked. They did this like in real life, and they did it well every single day. He committed no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. Do you know how you can do it like Christ? Christ did it because he entrusted himself to his Father. He believed God for all of it, and it gave him confidence. He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. Isaiah 53, 800 years before, says, as a lamb before the shearers is silent. It's a reference to Christ in this very moment that we see in Mark. And I want to help you remember this. This is it, and we're going to sing and do the finish up. And we'll still be basically on time. Thank you for leaving room for a change, for sharing. The best part about starting a church is that you can do whatever you want. And we can switch up the schedule and it'll be okay. So if you want to parse out the verbs and tenses in this passage, Go home and read a commentary. It'll be great. But don't miss what Jesus did as an example for you and me. There are real life examples of people in the history of this country who did just what Jesus did. They walked into suffering in a Christ-like way because he gave an example to be followed. Everybody's suffering is a little different. Today you're sitting, you might be suffering. It might be different than Mr. Kurtz. It might be different than those who grew up in Selma. It might be different than those who are currently in Selma. It might be different than your neighbor. It might be different than me. We all deal with suffering. The question is, will you do it as Christ did it? And if you're going to do it like Christ did it, you're going to have to be confident of the truth that he is the Messiah, that he is who he says he is, that he has what he says he has, and that he is in fact with those who love him and obey him and follow him and believe in him. Here's my desire for our church and for this group of believers. It is my intention to learn how to suffer like Christ, and it's my intention to drag us all into that same place so that we can live a life that proclaims Jesus above every other name, that sees the transformative power of his grace and goodness and mercy, so that we will not be pretenders with Christian tags on our social media, but instead that we will be beat up and bruised. I've not had sun blisters in a while. It doesn't feel good, but it's a mark of something that we got to do. We bear the marks of Christ because he bore them for us first. Are you going to justify yourself? Or maybe be silent and entrust yourself to the one who judges justly so that we can follow him in those steps. Father, I thank you for this morning. Thank you for the sharing. Thank you for the work that has been done. God, thank you for what's going to happen in the future because we are not a one and done type people. Open doors for us, Lord, that we might have a prolonged partnership, a prolonged love and support for those in Selma and around the world, God, in our city and our neighbors who are next to us. God, I do pray that you would break our heart for the things that break your heart, God, and that you would teach us how to be more like Jesus in all things, even in suffering. Father, I do pray that you would bless this people. You bless this people.